this is Jen Tinline from stampwithjen.com, and today I'm so excited to show you how I made this beautiful blended card using the new Stampin' Up! Blends and the Moon Baby stamp set. And you can see that there's some glitter on here, and I'll show you how to do that too. So I'm using the Moon Baby stamp set from Stampin' Up! And I'm going to start with some Memento ink, which is what you need to use for the blends. And this is Memento Black. All these items are available in the Stampin' Up! Catalog, and you can get them in my store. And I'm going to stamp this image. And then once you've stamped it, it's important to let it dry for a few minutes. So I pre-did another image here, and I'm just going to swap them out. So I'm not going to give you all the rundown on the blends and the caps and all that kind of stuff, because all of that information is in a video by Stampin' Up! And I've actually created a page on my website about the blends as well. So what I'm doing here first is just coloring the whole moon with the light daffodil marker. And you can see it's quite a saturated color, so it soaks through. So you'll want to use something underneath your work surface. Now I'm going to start with the light pumpkin pie, and I'm going to use the brush tip end. And I'm just going to color, just add a little bit of color where they would be shading naturally. So I'm just adding a line with the brush tip, and then I'm going to go to the dark Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to use the bullet tip. And you see those caps are hard to get off, and that's good because it keeps the alcohol from getting dried out. So I'm just using little circular motions to blend out that line, that harsh line that came from the the light pumpkin pie marker. And then I'm going to move to the light Daffodil Delight, the same one I colored them in with to start with. Again, just blending out any harsh lines and just to create some nice shading. Little circular motions. So on my original, you can see the nice shading now. I noticed it was a bit darker than what my sample is looking like right now, so I went and grabbed the dark pumpkin pie marker, and I'm going to add that color in. So there's actually going to be 4 colors that I'm showing on this card, blending those 4 colors. And so you can combine colors in any kind of combination you want to get the color that you're looking for. So I'm going from the dark pumpkin pie to the light pumpkin pie, blending that out. You already can see it's nice and darker. Then I'm going to move to the dark Daffodil Delight and just blending out that line, and then move to the light Daffodil Delight. And when you're working with these, you want to work in small areas at a time, just so it's alcohol, so it's going to dry out those markers. So if you went and did a larger image, our larger section first, you might not have the blendability that you do if you work with a smaller section. So I'm just going to break this into 3 sections and do each section. I'm going to leave the video on normal speed for this, just because this is kind of a good image to show how to blend. Larger images are easier to do more blending, and certainly with a small image I wouldn't have been able to blend out 4 colors like this. I do have another video coming up where I show a couple colors on a flower petal, and it's nice, but it's very tiny to work in, so you're just doing little wee bursts of color, whereas this is just a lot of color, which is nice. It's a good kind of image to practice with, anything that's large like this. So you can see that I'm keep working at it to get those lines disappearing, and even as I'm working, it's drying, so it will look a little bit different in a couple of minutes even as it dries. So sometimes it's a good idea to put your project aside and let it dry a little bit, and then go back in and see if you need to change anything at all. Notice too that I didn't go right up against the black line when I put my orange mark down. That's because the color again is bleeding and blending, and by keeping the color just inside the black line, then you'll prevent that from bleeding out. You notice too that I'm recapping the markers as I'm finishing with the colors, just again because I don't want them drying out. The other thing to mention is that I'm working on Stampin' Up's Whisper White cardstock, which I found is the best. I found the thick Whisper White is also nice too, but I got a little bit more bleeding with that than I did with the regular Whisper White, so that's the one that I am preferring to use when I'm stamping my images. So this is looking pretty good now. I tend to still just fiddle a little bit with the image, trying to get it just exactly the way I want, and that's the fun part. And I should mention that this type of coloring is not for the faint of heart. If you don't like to color, this may not be for you, but this is something that just makes me so excited because I love to color, and these blends just make me really happy because they are so much fun to play with. Now you may notice here that I did a little boo-boo outside the lines, and so I'm taking the color lifter that we have and I'm just pushing that color sort of back into the paper or against the colored image already, and it looks wet right now, but it will dry, and that boo-boo will be mostly all gone. So I'm working on the little baby's clothes now, and I'm starting by laying down a color again, and that was Pink Pirouette. Now I should mention too that you can do the blends in any way you want. You can start with light, go to dark, start with dark, go to light, whatever you want. So in this particular image I'm laying down a base color of light and then adding dark highlights and then coming back in with the colors. So it's whatever works for you. When you play, you'll figure it out. So I've just added a little bit of light rich razzleberry on some of the areas where I thought there would be shadings, like the knees and the feet and the belly and the elbows. And now I'm going in with the dark Pink Pirouette and blending those out. So what this next image shows here is that I did it again because it wasn't dark enough. And by layering the same color on top, you actually get a darker variation as well. So this is the second round of rich razzleberry and then blending out with the dark Pink Pirouette to just add that little bit of shading where there would be shading on this little cutie pie. And you can see again how lovely those pens color. There's not streaking the same way that you would have with a water-based marker. So my final step here is I'm just going over with the light Pink Pirouette marker, and that actually just smooths everything completely out, which is lovely. Now I'm using a special marker here. There's two of them that we are selling, which is the ivory and the bronze, and they're meant for skin tones. I mean, they work for other things as well, but primarily work for skin tones. And you can kind of create any skin tone you want by layering those colors together, going over the colors, adding other colors like pink and crumb and gray, yellow, whatever you want to make lighter or darker skin tones. So here I'm attempting to add rosy cheeks to the little baby, and I used a light Pink Pirouette, and I realized that was way too light, so I'm going back over with the dark Pink Pirouette and the brush tip just to add some little rosy cheeks, and then I'm blending them out with the ivory pen. And so you'll see here what ends up being a mistake I kind of work on, not a mistake, but an opportunity to fix throughout working on the face here. The whole face kind of became more rosy doing those cheeks, so you'll see me try to fix that up later. Now although there's not a whole lot, see, there I go with the cheeks again. Although there's not a whole lot of hair on the baby's head, there would definitely be a little more dark spot. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add light crumb cake all over sort of the crown of the head. And of course now I've got a bit of a a line here, so I'm going to try and fix that. The cheeks ended up being just a little bit better, I think. So that's the dark crumb cake marker, and just doing where there's actual hair as indicated by the artist, and a little bit on the top. And then I blend this out. I believe I blended out with an ivory. Yep, there's the ivory. I'm blending that out, so again trying to make the hairline and the baby's face kind of blend together, which it does, but again the hair is super light. That actually doesn't look too bad right at this stage, but I do go in and add a little bit more color to the hair just to make it just a bit darker. And this time I blended it with the light crumb cake marker so that it maintains the sort of brown color. So just using circular motions is all I'm doing here on that darker color. So you can see already that the light crumb cake blended with the dark makes it just a little bit better. So I felt the face was too dark. It was too close to the baby's actual romper there. So I'm using the color lifter to lighten the face. And it looks a little weird right now. But this is one of those instances where I'm going to just leave it alone for a bit, let it dry, see how it looks. Because I did want to lighten it up, so it needs a little bit of time, and I needed some time to figure out what I wanted to do. So I'm just going to move on to the little star below. And this is a little wee area, so it's hard to get good blending in this little wee area. But I did try. I put dark color on the tips, and then I blended in that color with the light one in the middle. Now you're going to see me use something in a second here. It's Wink of Stella, and that's our glitter pen. And what's nice about that is it is an alcohol-based pen. And so I can see just a little yellow that I missed there. And just adding, some more fiddling. Anyways, Wink of Stella, it blends really nicely with the alcohol-based markers. In fact, the glitter just kind of merges with the color, and it's beautiful. So I'm going to end up putting that on the star. And it's a little hard to pick it up in the video, but it is so glittery in person. It's lovely. So this is looking really good. I'm quite happy with how this looks. So I've got, I think this is the ivory again. Nope. That would be dark pink pirouette for those cheeks. I want those cheeks rosy. And now the ivory. And I'm just doing it a little bit this time to maintain those cheeks. And I dabbed off my pen on the scrap paper, which was just off camera there. And sometimes you'll get a little bit of extra color picking up on the end of the pens. And so you'll just want to dab that off. And then I'm just blending that out. Okay, so I'm happier with that now. Still, it's a little bit lighter than it was before. And a little bit of a rosy glow. And then I did take my color lifter and just add to the eyelids just to lighten those up just a smidge. And here's the Wink of Stella pen that I was talking about. So I'm just adding that in there. This is one of my favorite little embellishment things to use because it just gives it such a pretty look. And then I decided the moon should have glitter too. So I'm adding that sort of to the edge. And I don't go all the way up to the baby, which is a good thing because in about 10 seconds on this video I realized that I forgot to do something I wanted to do to that baby. So I've got room to do that because I didn't go all the way up to the baby. This is the light smoky slate marker, and I'm adding just a little bit of a line underneath the baby where a shadow would be when they were sleeping there on the moon. And then I'm going to take the light daffodil marker because that's the color that's there, and just blend out that shadow a little bit. I probably would have done a little bit more of a gray line, but I was afraid of blending into that glitter. I didn't want that glitter on my pen tips. So I'm going to show you one last thing that I'm going to do to this image, and this is one of my favorite little tricks to do, and this is to make the image pop. And what I've got here is the light pool party marker, and I just did a little outline, and now I'm adding the color lifter, and I'm just blending out that line so it's not harsh, it's just kind of faded in that line, and that just makes the image pop right off the page. So I'll zoom in here so that you can see this, and just blending in that line. And I'm using the blue here because it makes sense because it's a night scene, so it could be like the sky, but you could use a gray or any other kind of light color. So I'm just speeding up the camera here because this is all the same kind of thing. But it's the same principle in that I'm working in a small area at a time just so that that ink, the marker ink on the paper, doesn't dry out before I can get to it and blend it out. In fact, I made a little boo-boo there and I just blended that right out. So I'm hoping you can see that on the camera, how it just makes the image pop. And then there's the glitter, of course, on there too. It's so pretty. I actually made this card for a friend who is become a grandma for the first time to a little girl. So I'm just going to make the rest of the card really quickly sped up on the camera because it's quite simple. I did run that piece of paper through the Big Shot. That is powder pink. The ribbon is crushed curry. I'll have a list of all these supplies in the description under the video. You can grab that PDF there. And this is sweet sugar plum because that's sort of what that blended color ended up looking like, was a sweet sugar plum. Now my camera cut out here, but what I did was I used the dark Daffodil Delight marker with the bullet tip to color the rhinestones and make them yellow to look like stars. So that's a really fun thing you can do with alcohol markers is color things like rhinestones, pearls, the perfect accents, that kind of thing. Thank you so much for checking out this project, and be sure to check back to stampwithjen.com often for other tips, tricks, and ideas.